Welcome to our deep dive today. We're going to be looking at this chapter from a memoir, and it's all about choice, like even when things get really, really tough.
Yeah, it's really interesting how it goes beyond just like telling a story. It's almost like a guide to building resilience.
Right. Totally. And what really grabbed me is how the author talks about experimenting with choices like early on, even in their younger years, almost as if they were like unknowingly preparing for something way bigger.
Hmm. Yeah, like they were laying the groundwork for a life that, you know, as we learn, takes a pretty dramatic turn when they're hit with this sudden illness that totally reshapes their reality.
Okay, so we've got this person who's already kind of figured out that choices have serious consequences, right? And then bam, major life challenge. What I found really powerful is how at this like pivotal moment their parents give them this advice that becomes like a central theme. Believe deeply regardless of what anyone else thinks.
And and that idea of belief becomes even more powerful when you learn about the author's own like complicated relationship with faith. Like, can you imagine encountering 61 gods by the time you're 13? No wonder they kind of felt disillusioned with traditional religion, right?
61 gods. Seriously, that's wild. So if not like a traditional god, what did they choose to believe in? What was their anchor?
Well, they chose to believe in themselves, like in their own inner strength and their ability to heal. And
Mm.
it wasn't just some like fluffy feel-good thing. It actually became a driving force in their physical recovery.
Okay, so how did that actually play out in their recovery? Did they talk about any specific techniques or anything they used?
Hmm. You know, they don't get into specifics, but they do emphasize that mind over matter became a very real exercise for them. It's like they were using their mental focus to like seriously influence their healing.
Whoa. That's pretty intense. It makes you wonder, like, what did that mental exercise actually look like? Was it visualization,
Yeah.
meditation, something else entirely? And on top of this whole mind over matter thing, there's another lesson from their parents that comes in finding the positive in every single outcome, no matter what.
Right. It was like they were on a mission to find joy every single day. Even in the midst of all this difficulty, they were committed to finding something, anything positive to hold on to.
Okay, but let's be real here. Finding the positive when you're dealing with a serious illness that can't be easy. Was there ever a point where the author felt like this whole positivity thing was just too much?
You know, the chapter doesn't really delve into moments of doubt, but there is this really interesting anecdote about the author struggling with their mother's constant calmness and patience. It really shows you what an emotional roller coaster they were on.
Oh, yeah, I remember that part. Tell me more about that anecdote. It felt so relatable, especially that teenage angst of wanting to shake someone out of their, like, Zen state.
Totally. The author actually gets annoyed by their mother's composure during this really trying time. And through that experience, they learn a huge lesson that no one can make you feel anything you don't choose to feel. It's a powerful realization about the control we have over our own emotional responses.
So even in the middle of all this chaos and uncertainty, they're discovering this power to choose their emotional state. That's got to be a game changer, especially when you're facing a sudden illness like that.
Absolutely. And you can see how this realization fuels their determination to control their emotional response to the situation. They decide not to be a victim, but to master their emotions.
It's like they're building this fortress of resilience brick by brick with belief, positivity, and emotional control as their
I
materials.
love that analogy.
Okay.
And that fortress becomes their foundation for facing this huge challenge in front of them. They choose to live. They choose happiness. They believe in a brighter future, all while knowing how incredibly difficult this path is.
Wow, their commitment is so inspiring. But I gotta ask, how did this actually play out in their daily life? What did choosing to live look like in a tangible way?
Well, we know they were super focused on their physical recovery, and they embraced even the smallest victories. It suggests they were really intentional about living, not just passively hoping for improvement.
It's like they created a daily ritual of resilience, finding ways to like put their beliefs into action every single day.
That's a great way to put it. They weren't just thinking positive thoughts, they were living them.
Yeah.
And that's maybe where the true power of their story lies.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that resilience isn't about being superhuman or something. It's about making those conscious choices day after day that line up with what we really believe in. And that's something we can all work towards no matter what we're going through. You know, thinking about these daily rituals of resilience, it makes me wonder, like, what specific things did the author actually do to build that unwavering belief in positivity? The source mentions this global wave of healing energy, but it doesn't really explain it. What are your thoughts on that?
Hmm. That's really interesting. It's like their belief went beyond just themselves, like they were tapping into something bigger, a collective source of hope and healing. It reminds me of how many cultures and spiritual traditions emphasize connecting to a universal energy.
Yeah, totally. And it seems like that connection gave them a sense of purpose in the middle of all the chaos of their illness. It wasn't just about them getting better, it was about being part of something bigger than themselves.
Exactly. It's like they were drawing strength and inspiration from this global wellspring of healing energy, letting it fuel their own journey.
It also strikes me how the author doesn't try to sugarcoat how hard it was. They're really honest about the struggles and the doubts, which makes their commitment to choosing happiness even more incredible.
I agree. It shows that resilience isn't about being happy-go-lucky all the time. It's about making a conscious choice to keep going even when it's tough.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important for our listeners to understand. Resilience isn't about pretending the negative stuff isn't there. It's about actively choosing to focus on the positive, even when things are difficult.
So, how do you think the author dealt with those inevitable moments of doubt or despair? Do they have any strategies for those darker emotions?
Well, the chapter doesn't give us a list of coping mechanisms, but we can kind of see from their actions and reflections that they were actively working on managing their emotions. Remember that anecdote about their mother's calmness? It suggests that they were learning to observe their feelings without being totally overwhelmed by them.
That's such a valuable skill. It makes me think about the power of mindfulness, being present with our feelings without judging them. It gives us the space to choose how we respond instead of just reacting automatically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that ability to regulate their emotions probably helped them really embrace the power of their mind in their healing.
Okay, so we've got belief positivity and emotional control. But I'm curious to know more about how the author put those beliefs into action. They mentioned that mind over matter became a very real exercise. What do you think that looked like in their daily life?
Hmm. While the chapter doesn't give us specific details about their daily practices, we know they were totally focused on their physical recovery, believing that anything is possible. That tells us they weren't just passively waiting for a miracle. They were actively involved in the process of healing both mentally and physically.
Do you think they might have been using things like visualization or affirmations? I'm trying to picture what a mind over matter exercise would involve.
I think those are definitely possibilities. And it's worth thinking about how their connection to that global wave of healing energy might have played a part in their mental practices. Maybe they were tapping into that collective energy through meditation or other mindfulness techniques.
That's an interesting idea. It speaks to the power of connecting to something larger than ourselves, especially when we're facing tough times.
Mm.
It's like finding strength and inspiration from a universal source of hope and healing.
And that connection might have given them a sense of purpose that went beyond just their own recovery. Like their individual journey was part of a bigger movement toward healing and wholeness.
I think that's a beautiful way to look at it. And it reminds us that even when we're struggling with our own stuff, we're not alone. There's this web that connects us all. And tapping into that can be so empowering.
Exactly. And it brings us back to the author's core message, the choice to live.
Mm.
You can see it in their unwavering belief, their constant search for joy, and their active participation in the healing process.
They're not just surviving, they're thriving. They're choosing to embrace life to the fullest, even when things are really tough.
And I think that message is something that everyone can relate to, no matter what their circumstances are. We all face challenges, setbacks, moments of doubt, but we always have a choice in how we respond.
Right.
We can let fear and despair win, or we can rise above them and choose resilience.
And the author's story gives us a powerful example of what that resilience can look like. It's not about ignoring the hard stuff or pretending it's not there. It's about making the choice to focus on the positive, to cultivate hope, and to believe in the possibility of a brighter future.
It's about choosing to live, even when life throws us those curveballs.
Yeah.
And I think that's an incredibly powerful message for our listeners to take away from this deep dive.
Absolutely. So, as we go into the final part of our exploration, let's keep this idea of choosing to live front and center in our minds. I'm really interested to see what other insights the author shares about how we can embody this choice in our daily lives.
I'm excited to continue this conversation too.
You know, as we keep digging into this chapter, I'm really struck by how self-aware the author is. It's like they're not just blindly following their parents' advice. They're really thinking about it, questioning it, and making it work for their own experience.
Yeah, that's so true. It's like they took those core ideas, belief, positivity, emotional control, and turned them into their own personal survival kit for this crazy situation. It's not like a one-size-fits-all thing. It's a strategy that grows and changes right along with them.
And that evolution is so important, isn't it? Life's always throwing us curveballs. We're always growing, changing, facing new stuff. The author's willingness to adapt is like a key part of their resilience, I think.
Absolutely. It's like they're constantly adjusting their internal compass, making sure it's pointed in the right direction to guide them through all the twists and turns. And that willingness to adapt, to learn from their experiences, that's what keeps them moving forward, even when things get tough.
Yeah, it shows that being resilient isn't about being stubborn or stuck in your ways. It's about being flexible, open to new ideas, and willing to change course when you need to.
And you can really see that adaptability in how the author approaches their recovery. They talk about how they focused on physical recovery and believe that anything is possible. It's a statement that shows both unwavering determination and a willingness to embrace the unknown.
It's like they found this balance between holding on to a strong belief and letting go, trusting that things will work out while still working hard towards their goals.
It's a dance between intention and acceptance, and it seems like that's what helps them navigate all the ups and downs with grace and resilience.
And we can't forget about joy. The author's constant search for those little bits of happiness really shows how committed they were to choosing joy, even when things were hard.
It really does. It reminds us that joy isn't just some extra thing. It's a basic human need. It's what keeps us going, the light in the darkness, the thing that makes life worth living.
And for the author, joy wasn't just something that happened when good things were going on. It was a choice, an act of defiance against all the negativity and uncertainty around them.
Yeah, it's a beautiful example of how we can all create joy in our lives, even when things are tough. It's about finding those moments of beauty, connection, gratitude, however small they might be, and really appreciating them.
It's about training our minds to focus on what's good, what's working, what makes us feel alive, and letting that positive energy fuel us.
And that brings us back to the author's core message, the choice to live. It's a choice that's woven into everything they do, every breath, every action, every thought.
It's a choice that's part of who they are, a testament to their commitment to embracing life even when things are really, really hard.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's hold on to that powerful message. Let's choose to live fully, to embrace joy, to build resilience, and to face each day with purpose and possibility.
Let's remember that we have the power to choose how we experience life, and that even in the darkest times, there's a light inside us that can never be put out.
And as you go about your day, ask yourself, what choices can I make today that will feed my soul, strengthen my determination, and bring me closer to the life I truly want to live?
That's a great question to think about, and I think it's something we can all benefit from. As always, we encourage you to keep exploring, keep learning, and keep choosing hope. Until next time.